Why Trevor Story is finally in the perfect spot in the Red Sox lineup.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate, and currently the host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And you want to know the best part? It's completely free. So make sure you tune in because Locked On is here for you every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Happy Monday. Welcome to the show where we are coming off of another series win for the Boston Red Sox. Just got to keep winning series. That should be the goal moving forward. We know we can't win every game, although I wish we could, but just got to focus on winning the series. And the Red Sox have now won 2 straight series after winning a series against the Brewers. They now won a series on the road against the Cardinals. And why that's notable is because prior to the series against the Cardinals, the Red Sox had significantly struggled on the road. We're not able to win games in other locations outside of Fenway Park. And this series showed that they can win on the road. And it's mainly about just putting everything together for them and playing their version of baseball. And that's exactly what they did in this series. So I'm going to be talking about on today's show one notable player who's moved down in the lineup and is in a good spot for him now, as well as a couple of the pitching matchups that we saw in the series. And also another player who moved up in the order and if he should stick there. So the Red Sox lost a frustrating first game of this series, 3-2, a game in which Dustin May, of course, pitched against the Boston Red Sox on Friday night and pitched really well. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, but only one of them was earned. No walks and 4 strikeouts. I mean, it was almost meant to be that he was just going to absolutely shove against the Boston Red Sox after everything that happened after the trade deadline last year with the Red Sox trading for him not being able to stay on the field, and when he was on the field, not being able to perform. So it was almost scripted that was going to happen. And it was a frustrating loss because it was absolutely a winnable game with the Red Sox missing some opportunities to be able to get on top in that game, leaving 5 runners on base and going just 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. And it just felt like more of the same for this team. But the Saturday and Sunday games were very much working in the Red Sox favor. They won 7-1 on Saturday and then 9-3 on Sunday. And Trevor Story was a big piece in those games. Now, Alex Cora, for the beginning of the season, was batting Trevor Story in the 2-hole. And that was not the best spot for him because he was just not able to execute at all in that spot. It looked like he just wasn't seeing the ball well. And while he's still not hitting at an insanely high level, he has been more productive since the Red Sox decided to move him down in the order because Alex Cora realized after a bit, okay, this isn't working out with Trevor Story in the 2-hole, so let's move him down a little bit. And the reason why sometimes moving guys around in the order works is because it's less pressure. The guys who are hitting at the top of the order, there's a lot of pressure on them to make something happen and get on base early so that the guys after them can try to drive them in. So for Trevor Story, he's going into this season with a lot of pressure on himself to replicate what he did last year. Last year was his first fully healthy season in a Boston Red Sox uniform. And the fact that he was healthy made him feel really good about moving forward. And it was really good as a Red Sox fan to be able to see the way that he was able to stay healthy last year and be able to contribute at a high level, especially offensively, also with his speed and his defense. So he's definitely putting a lot of pressure on himself this season to repeat that. And if you're hitting in the 2-hole and you're adding to that the pressure you're already putting on yourself going into the season with the goals you have for the season, that creates for a lot of high stress. And it was also leading to him making a lot of defensive blunders early on. And that was tough to watch. Some routine throws that he should have been able to make cleanly and he couldn't. And we were seeing a lot of Trevor Story blunders at shortstop. And then the conversation became, all right, Trevor Story should be definitely not hitting in the 2-hole. So sure enough, Alex Cora moved him down, and it's been working out a lot better for him as of late. Now, he's a guy who definitely still has his bad strikeouts where he's chasing pitches out of the strike zone. He definitely needs to try to continue to avoid that. But in the first game of this series, although he didn't get a hit, he did drive in a run in that game and ended up scoring a run. So he struck out, but he did contribute in a way, because even though he wasn't the guy just smashing baseballs left and right, he was still able to have a say in the Red Sox score in that game. And that's notable because that was something that he wasn't really doing much of at all early on. He wasn't doing anything really notable. So even though in that specific game he didn't get a hit, he was still contributing. Then in game 2 of the series, he was batting in the same spot that he had in game 1. So in game 1 of the series on the road in St. Louis, Alex Cora had him batting 6th in the lineup. And I was like, all right, that's an intriguing spot for him. We'll see how he does there. In game 2, he scored a run also. He didn't get a hit in that game, but he did take a walk in that game. So he looked a little bit more confident than he had when he was hitting in the 2-hole, because he had a patient at bat in which he did draw a walk. So that was notable again for Trevor Story. And then in game 3 of the series, when the Red Sox won 9-3, that was a massive game for him. He went 4 for 5 in that game with a run scored and 2 RBIs, now getting his batting average up to 182 with a 188 on base percentage and 273 slugging percentage. Now, this was a massive game for him. Now, the biggest thing moving forward is going to be consistency. Can he continue to keep up that pace? Can he continue to contribute offensively at a high level? And the fact that he's now batting in the 6th hole, even though he hasn't gotten hits each day, he's still been able to show that he can confidently hit a little bit better when he's hitting more in the middle part of the order, as opposed to when he's hitting towards the top. Because even, for example, in the series prior to that, the Red Sox faced the Brewers. And keep in mind, the Brewers are a good baseball team. That is a team that had a postseason run last year, and they did lose a couple players in the offseason, but they generally have a similar roster, and he contributed in that series too. He went 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs in the first game against the Brewers, and even though the Red Sox lost that game, again, he was still contributing in that regard. And once again, even leading into that series, the conversation was, okay, they should move Trevor Story down, and he batted 5th in that loss against the Brewers. And since then, he has been hitting in that middle part of the order, and it really has worked out for him. He's looked a lot more confident, recorded a hit in the second game against the Brewers, a tight 3-2 win, and driving in 2 runs there. And then again, in game 3 of the series, the Red Sox won that game pretty handily, 5-0. And Trevor Story in that game in the 5-hole also recorded a hit, going 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs. So, I mean, this has been a pattern as of late, with Story really being able to contribute a little bit more. And he may not necessarily be the best hitter on this team moving forward, but it's clear that he's a little bit more confident in the 5-6 spot as opposed to being in the 2-hole, because he just doesn't look as lost at the plate. And another telling thing is that he has a batting average of 300 with 6 hits, 7 RBIs, and 3 runs scored in his last 5 games. So that's all very important to keep in mind, because when you're thinking about moving around batting orders, obviously him not being towards the top and not putting as much pressure on himself is making a difference. After he started the 2026 season with a 119 average and 17 strikeouts in his first 42 at-bats, that's when he got dropped down, and he's taking a little bit more of a simplifying approach now to be able to have gotten out of his slump. And he's also been working on picking a side of the plate and making better in-game adjustments to be able to hit the fastball, which was a crucial factor in his previous success. So early signs of those adjustments have shown promise since he has contributed a little bit more in that series against the Brewers and also in this series against the Cardinals. So the key thing for him is that he's going to have to cut down on the strikeouts, still having 21 strikeouts in his first 15 games of the season. So even though he has made some adjustments, he still does struggle with the off-speed pitches, and we do find that he's chasing still a lot of the times. That's the biggest thing with Story that I'm going to be looking out for moving forward, but he should stick in the 5 or 6 spot, because those are spots in which he's hitting in that meat of the order, but he's not expected to step up immediately and hit at the top. So if he stays in that spot, I think we're going to continue to see better results from him based on the adjustments that he's made. So hopefully the Red Sox continue to stick with that. But coming up, Ranger Suarez and Bello had huge, much-needed outings for the Red Sox. If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why the Confetti Craze 5-Hour Energy Shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. This is that classic taste you remember, but with a tasty caffeine boost and zero sugar. It's a quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. I've always loved birthday cake, but I can't be eating sweets all day, so this is a perfect alternative. The Funfetti flavor is back on 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Crack open Confetti Craze 5-Hour Energy Shots today. It's addicting, so don't blame me when you get hooked, but I love it, and you should absolutely try it too. And also with baseball being back, I'm celebrating by giving you a full month of the Everydayer Club for free. Go to lockedonredsox.supercast.com and use code FINALLY. You'll unlock every episode ad-free and get access to a private listener group chat. Tap the link in the show notes and use code FINALLY to claim your free month. The Everydayer Club is awesome because you get so many perks. And if you subscribe to the all access tier, you can get one-on-one texting with me directly to get all of your Red Sox related questions answered. Plus, you can also get all access content you won't find anywhere else. For example, I've gotten some great interviews so far in Worcester with some of the players there to start the season. So if you subscribe to the all access tier, you can hear all of those interviews in full. Plus, in general, just with the Everydayer Club subscription in general, you don't have to listen to any ads. And that is great. It's just all baseball talk for you. So make sure you take advantage of that and subscribe today. The Boston Red Sox have won another series, their second straight series win. And this is exactly why I said earlier on in the season on this show after the first few games, don't give up on this team. It's way too early to really know what they're actually going to be. And now they're starting to play a little bit better baseball, and that's exactly what we needed to see. And they're playing their style. If they really hone in on their strengths and what they do well, which is manufacturing runs, moving guys over rather than focusing on playing hero ball and hitting a home run or bust, that's the type of baseball that we want to see. Guys making good contact and focusing more on putting the ball in play. And with their athleticism, they can score runs that way. And that's a lot of what we saw in these games against the Cardinals, particularly in games 2 and 3 of the series. The first game, the Red Sox offense wasn't there. They only got one extra base hit in that game. But we really saw them take advantage in a lot of opportunities. And they were able to really score a lot of runs in those 2 games. But on top of the scoring, we also have the pitching to thank, because Ranger Suarez was really due for a strong outing. After struggling in his first 2 starts of the season, he pitched in the Saturday game in which the Red Sox won 7-1, and he was awesome. Through 6 innings, giving up 3 hits but no runs with 2 walks and 6 strikeouts. He threw 84 pitches with 55 of them going for strikes, and he has now bumped his ERA down to a 5.9. 5.02. This was a guy that the Red Sox were really hoping coming into the season would be worth the $130 million that they gave him. And that performance that he just gave in St. Louis is exactly what they're paying for. That's exactly the version of Ranger Suarez that we have been waiting to see. And not only was his stuff better, but the length was there. He was only giving 4 or 4 1/3 before in his previous couple starts innings, but to go 6 innings of shutout baseball, that's exactly what the Red Sox needed from him. And it also really showed that maybe he's starting to build himself up a little bit, because one of the biggest reasons why he was struggling early on is because he wasn't exactly built up to the point where he needed to be after the World Baseball Classic. He and Bello both, it was known that after pitching in the WBC, they needed time to ramp themselves up, which is why they didn't start as a 1-2-3 starter to start the season in the first series, because they needed extra time. So they pushed them back to the second series of the season. And we saw the early on results from Suarez where he was struggling. And that was one of the biggest reasons why. So maybe this start on Saturday indicates that he's finally built himself back up enough now to the point where he can focus more on his arsenal and his pitch mix. And I really liked the pitch mix that he utilized in his outing on Saturday. He's made some key adjustments from what he was struggling with early on, primarily focusing on his mechanics and his pitch selection, and also continuing to build up that arm strength. So he is feeling more grounded in his mechanics overall, specifically noting that his back leg felt more comfortable, which helped him to deliver that dominant performance in this game. Also, in that outing against the Cardinals, his best one in a Boston Red Sox uniform so far, he really did rely on a more balanced mix of his arsenal compared to his earlier, less effective outings. Particularly, this specific outing included better command of his sinker, cutter, and changeup, and he really wasn't able to get a good hold on the changeup, especially in his earlier 2 starts. That was something that was really causing him to struggle, but he just had better control of all those pitches and better placement of those pitches. And velocity maintenance has improved for him too. Despite the slow start, he has shown a slight velocity gain on his pitches. He's up 0.5 miles per hour to 91.7 compared to 2025, which combined with his high-end command helps him to manage contact, because he's always been known as a strong command guy with good off-speed pitches, and that has kind of helped offset his velocity a little bit. But if his velocity's increased a little bit, that's very promising. So his return to form after struggling with a strange spring training impacted by the World Baseball Classic, he was able to successfully build up his stamina now, reaching up to 84 pitches in that outing, which was absolutely huge for him and something that the Red Sox really needed. So after starting with an 8.64 ERA over his first 2 starts, his outing the other day showed that he was finding a groove, and again jumped that ERA significantly down to a 5.02. He's also always been known for a guy who induces weak contact. He's historically been in the top 10 in all of baseball for limiting average exit velocity and hard hit rates. The average exit velocity is 84.1 miles an hour. So he's a big ground ball pitcher, and we've seen a lot of that from him. And one of the things that makes him so successful is because he's a really successful ground ball pitcher, he himself is also a good defender, and he's made some nice plays when it comes to rollers back to him on the mound, and he's been able to either run to first base or make a nice throw to first base to get the out. So that's going to be something that's continuing to, hopefully, going to help give him an advantage. Also, his postseason performance is something to continue to be excited about. He has a 1.48 career earned run average and 11 postseason appearances. So if the Red Sox get there to the postseason this year, that's something they have to look forward to. But the question's going to be, was this a fluke outing, or is this going to be something he can maintain? Because the issues in his earlier starts, a lot had to do with the fact that he not only didn't have that velocity really where he should, but he didn't have command of the off-speed stuff. So he has to make sure that he's able to retain those good off-speed pitches and be able to maintain that command if he wants to make sure that he's keeping himself in check. He is still adjusting to the new environment and needs to build on his early season inconsistency. So that's going to be the big thing moving forward. And he also has to focus on maintaining health, as he has not consistently exceeded 157 innings in a season. So in the long run, his health is going to be something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. That's going to be important, but really liked what I saw from Ranger Suarez, and also Brayan Bello, who made big strides in the right direction threw in the Sunday matinee game. He threw 6 2/3 innings, giving up 6 hits and 2 earned runs. He did give up a home run in this game with 2 walks and 2 strikeouts. He threw 94 pitches with 61 of those going for strikes, and now is down to a 6.14 ERA on the season. Just like Ranger Suarez, Brayan Bello really needed this outing because he was struggling a lot in his first couple starts as well. And once again, very similar to Suarez, he wasn't providing the length, averaging about 4 innings in his first couple starts too. So the fact that he was able to pitch into the 7th inning, and the Red Sox now have a bullpen that's a little bit fresher, now they're in a good spot going into their next series against the Twins. So that was a big outing from Bello, able to go into the 7th inning. And for him, his command was definitely a little bit better in the outing. He was throwing strikes to the best that he could. I mean, he threw 94 pitches with 61 going for strikes, like I mentioned. And he's been able to rediscover his changeup a little bit. That was a pitch that he was focusing on really reestablishing as a primary weapon this year. And he has added a curveball to his mix to complement his sinker and changeup. So he's aiming for better depth and a new effective put away pitch. So because he was rediscovering the changeup and also adding the curveball earlier on in the season, that could have caused him some problems because he was getting used to trying to acclimate those into his arsenal. So that could be a noticeable thing that is important to think about is, okay, that could have been throwing him off a little bit because he's trying to focus so hard on implementing those pitches. He also modified his arm slot. He changed his mechanics a little bit in terms of where he grips the ball. He's essentially shifted from a low 3/4 arm slot to a more standard 3/4 angle, which has generated increased vertical movement on his sinker and changeup in particular. So that is something that has also helped. So he's redefined his grips in general during the offseason, focusing on higher intent and improved separation between his pitches, particularly the curveball and sweeper. So despite a rocky start to the season, including an 0-1 record and very rough earned run average in his first 2 starts, he really needed that performance against the Cardinals. And he's also notably shown an improved ability to generate ground balls at a 58% rate and swings and misses at a 41% rate early in the season. Now, he's always been a ground ball pitcher. He's always been able to induce weak contact, but getting more whips has been something that has improved for him a little bit this year. And that's something that hopefully continues to serve him well moving forward. But again, similar to Suarez, he wasn't built up enough after the WBC. And that's something that he probably needed some time to adjust to. So I'm definitely really curious as to if he continues to be able to carry over that performance and continue to carry over that momentum from this start yesterday. So lots of good things coming out of this series, but coming up, is Caleb Durbin in the 2-hole something that makes sense moving forward? The NBA playoffs are right around the corner, where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. The app makes it so easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, and key moments. That truly just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. So if you want to bet on the NBA playoffs, make sure you bet on the Celtics to make a deep run. Make sure you're betting on Jaylen Brown to score at least 20 points, because what a season he's had. Just head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. My husband and I just finished our taxes on TurboTax, and it was absolutely the best. Like, literally, we're talking life-saving here because taxes are so stressful. So if you can find somebody to help relieve that stress for you now that taxes are due here in a couple days, especially because you waited until the last minute to do them, TurboTax is 100% the place for you because you just give them the forms and they'll take care of everything for you. So I promise you, you'll be in good hands if you check out TurboTax today to get your taxes done. The Red Sox certainly got it done on the road in St. Louis this weekend, and what a series win it was. The Red Sox truly really needed this as they now sit at 6-9 on the season, which isn't great, but it's also only 2 games out of first place in the American League East. Obviously, it's way too early to be standings watching, but it's notable because in the first week of the season, it felt like the Red Sox were already losing their season and that the season was already starting to escape them. Now they're starting to get back on track. Now, of course, they have to continue that momentum. They can't slide back into old habits. They need to continue to work pitch counts and generate good contact and not go after as many pitches outside the strike zone. And the pitching needs to stay as effective as it is. But what I saw in this series against the Cardinals gives me lots of promise. And one interesting move that the Red Sox made was putting Caleb Durbin into the 2-hole. And he was hitting in that spot for the entirety of this series. And Alex Cora eventually got to the point where he felt like he needed to change something up to try to spark the offense. And he put Caleb Durbin there and basically explained that because Caleb Durbin isn't chasing as much outside the zone, he believes that he'll figure things out sooner now, and that moving forward, being in the 2-hole would be a good spot for him. Now, essentially, because he said he's not chasing, when you start doing that, good things are going to happen, and that's the reason he's hitting second. We will see how that works out. He entered Saturday in a very big slump with just a 103 average with twice as many strikeouts with 8 as hits with 4. His 186 on base percentage was tied for 4th worst among qualified hitters in the majors. Story was actually worse at 136, but already talked about Story and where he hits now being a lot better for him. But Durbin had struck out just 19% of the time, which was better than all of the Red Sox's regulars, other than Cedar Rafaela, who had struck out 18% of the time. And Durbin has been primarily effective, similarly at not swinging at pitches outside the strike zone and at not missing when he does swing. So that's something that Alex Cora saw, was because he was struggling so much early on, the struggles got amplified and we couldn't really see as much that he had some potential in there, but because he's cut down a little bit on chasing, this is definitely something that they believe is going to help him. And also, as a bonus, in Saturday's 7-1 win against the Cardinals, even though he was unable to reach base in his first 4 at-bats, he ended up essentially coming up big in the 9th inning with the bases loaded and 1 out, and ripped a 2-run single to the gap in left field to break open the game against Cardinals reliever Matt Svanson. So that was a big moment for him because this was something that was a good, noticeable thing that he did, which was swing at a strike, because the Red Sox haven't swung at a lot of those this year. They've swung at more of the pitches outside the zone. And for him, having a really solid at-bat where he made good contact on a pitch that was actually in the strike zone, that was really beneficial for him. So in the Friday game, in the 2-hole, he ended up going 0 for 3 with a strikeout. And then in that Saturday game, even though he went just 1 for 5, that one hit was big because he drove in 2. And then on Sunday in the 2-hole, he ended up going 0 for 3, but he did score 2 runs and he took a walk. So he is making a little bit of progress. Now, even though he's making progress, I still don't believe hitting in the 2-hole is best for him. The guy who right now you could argue should be hitting in the 2-hole is Willson Contreras, who's on an absolute tear for this Red Sox team right now. I absolutely raved about that trade when the Red Sox brought him here because I felt like he was going to be a really good fit at Fenway. He's just a guy who makes contact, gets on base, has timely hits, and plays really solid defense. And he showed up again in the Cardinals series. He did go 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts in the first game, but again, the offense in general didn't really show up in that game. But in the 7-1 win on Saturday, he went 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs in that game. So he was a huge reason why they won that game. And then again on Sunday in the Red Sox 9-3 win there when they had 12 hits as a team. 4 of those hits came from Contreras. He went 4 for 5 with a run scored and 3 RBIs. He did hit a home run that drove in 2, and then he drove in another run later on. So he has been on fire as of late. And in the Milwaukee series, too, he was definitely a contributor there, too. He's just a steady hitter. He's just a guy who, in the last few seasons, has been one of the most consistent hitters in baseball. And that's something the Red Sox really need is consistency. So I'm not necessarily trusting Caleb Durbin still fully to hit in the 2-hole. If it starts to work, if he starts to hit a little bit better, then great. Maybe you can keep him there. But because you have Willson Contreras, who's red hot right now, in a way I get not wanting to change things up, and where he's hitting now seems to be working really well for him, which is typically in the 4 spot. And so maybe Alex Cora doesn't want to change that because they don't want to move him up and put more pressure on him and cause him to not hit as well. But it's definitely something to consider because he's been on fire for this team as of late. And Caleb Durbin is slowly starting to build up his confidence. But to me, he might not necessarily have that confidence enough just yet to be able to be trusted in that 2 spot. So I'd be interested in seeing if this Caleb Durbin hitting in the 2-hole is something that Alex Cora continues to do consistently, or if he just wanted to try it up temporarily to see if it would improve anything for this team. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. But this was a really good series win for a Boston Red Sox team that really needed it and just needs to focus on continuing to string together wins, because at the end of the day, you've just got to win these series. And if they can keep the momentum going and just continue to play their version of baseball, they will see good results. And the pitching's got to maintain it. We need to see consistency from Bello and Suarez and hopefully see these guys continue to pitch well. Hopefully Sonny Gray continues what we saw from him in his last outing too. So lots that needs to continue to go right, but lots of good things really both sides of the ball between the offense and the pitching in this series. So hopefully that continues moving forward. But thanks so much for tuning in to Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen of every single day. Make sure you continue to tune in Monday through Friday and subscribe to the show on any podcast platform so that you don't miss a single episode. Make sure to also follow me on Twitter at Gabby Maljanian or on Instagram at Gabby_Maljanian10. You can also follow the show on Twitter at LO_Red Sox. So make sure you're doing all of that so that you get the latest going on with this team. Plus, if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Red Sox ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to LockedOnRedSox.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, I now send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, for your second listen, go check out Locked On MLB. Thanks so much, as always, for tuning in. Keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.